All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider post-game show. This is Ryan Shumpert. I am Rick Butler. After the orange and white game in 2024 right here in Neyland Stadium, we got a lot to get into about this game. First thing that I want to know, though, are you crazy for not wearing sunglasses in this sun, or am I crazy, or am I unprofessional for wearing them on video?
No, I don't. You're definitely not unprofessional or anything like that. If anything, it's more on me being crazy, but I don't even know if I own a pair of sunglasses. I never wear sunglasses, but it's testing me to the limit right now. Luckily, we're facing kind of away from the sun a little bit.
That's right. Hey, it was a great day here in Knoxville for the spring game. After a couple days of rainy, windy weather here in Knoxville, well, the skies opened up as in the clouds cleared out, the sun shone down, and it was a great day here in Neyland Stadium. I don't even know if we can get to a score by the end of it.
21-14.
21-14.
Orange team.
That's right. So 5 total touchdowns in this game. I think that's kind of one of the storylines. A very slow first quarter, a high-scoring second quarter, and then a very quick second half of play as Tennessee turned on the running clocks, got in, got out. Just sort of looking at this day as a whole, obviously this is a day where Tennessee's rotating through a ton of players. They don't want to get anybody too much workload, but they have a lot of newcomers, a lot of new faces that they maybe want to get specific experience to. Just any kind of broad thoughts of the game here today?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think broad thoughts maybe just that, all three quarterbacks, had their moments, and certainly the two backups and Gaston Moore I thought was really good. Again, I felt like he continues to maybe cement himself in that backup spot, and then the freshman Jake Merklinger did some good things too. So, there's a lot to like. It took me a while to figure out the scoring format because it's orange versus white, but it's really just the offense is in white playing against the defense in orange the whole time, but what drive they are just alternates. So I think really for more of a game standpoint, I think there were 14 drives, 9 stops from the defense, 5 touchdowns from the offense. So definitely some good from that quarterbacks and certainly some good from defense on a day that a lot of guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of main guys you'll see this fall did not play for Tennessee.
Yeah, you're right. You talk about that quarterback room. Each one of them found a passing touchdown on the day, I believe. Let's see. Jake Merklinger had a 26-yarder and a 26-yard rush, yeah. But he did have a 71-yard pass to Chris Brazel. Gaston Moore uncorks a 63-yarder to Mike Matthews. And then Nico Iamaleava scores right here in this end zone, a 27-yard pass. So each one of them got on the board. They got throwing the ball a little bit. That was one of my kind of takeaways after this game is, and again, we know it's early, so a lot of what we're saying is just kind of based on what we've seen so far this spring, but I do wonder if maybe more explosivity is going to come back into this offense. You look at the way they scored touchdowns today, 13 yards, 26, 27, 63, and 71. Obviously, you're not always going to be playing against your own secondary, but hey, maybe there's going to be a couple more shots in the bag for this Tennessee offense that they're going to be more willing to go to. Again, I don't know how much you can buy into that from just a spring game, but I did take into notice the fact that Tennessee was scoring touchdowns. They were explosive plays.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both. And like you said, I'm not sure how much you take away from it from just a spring game, but you would think this Tennessee offense would get back to more of that this fall. And then I think certainly some of it bad plays by Tennessee's defense too. I mean, Tennessee scores with 18 seconds left in the first half. Mike Matthews completely burns Jordan Matthews, and there's no safety over top. I mean, I was sitting in the press room during it, and I said Jeremy Pruitt would be proud of that sort of defensive breakdown in the last 20 seconds of a half. So you're right. Some big plays. Mike Matthews, I thought that play was really exciting. He made kind of a nice adjustment on that ball too. I think kind of going from his inside to outside to make the catch. And then Chris Brazel, you mentioned, had the long pass, I guess, from Merklinger there early in the second half. He did some nice things. So I thought, in our first more extended look at him, the Tulane transfer, there was a lot to like about what he did today.
Yeah, certainly maybe a combination of some of the touchdowns that Tennessee scored, but just kind of what you're saying, getting to see a little bit of that potential on the field. Obviously, we've been talking about it a lot. We've been writing about it a lot. You've seen the stats online, but now today was a great day to just kind of get out there, see what they looked like in motion. Another one of the receivers that was able to come back was Dante Thornton. Obviously, he missed the last couple of games of Tennessee's 2023 season. Good to see him back on the field just in healthy form. But I go back to the secondary. You're right, not their sharpest day. Obviously, a lot of rotation with that group right now, but that was something that Josh Heupel talked about over the summer and over the course of fall camp. They want to establish a core, guys that they know are going to be the starters, going to be, guys that get kind of rotated quickly in, but they want to find that core level of secondary players to get that ball started rolling.
Yeah, it does feel like they've gotten closer to that this spring, and obviously nothing just completely locked in, but at a handful of spots you kind of feel like you know who the guys are going to be. At corner, it feels like it's going to be Ricky Gibson and Jermon McCoy. It feels like Jacoby Thomas is going to factor in at one of the safety spots. So we'll see how all of that figures itself out, but it does feel like Tennessee got closer to figuring out some of those things during the spring. And then, yeah, I think the receiver, as we get closer to the season, the receiver situation will be one of the more fascinating things to me. Just they have so much depth there. I'm not sure if they have a ton of separation. Again, we'll figure that out more as we get closer and closer to kickoff and into the early part of the season, but we haven't seen a ton of rotation there for Tennessee in Josh Heupel's first 3 seasons. Heupel said as much post-game. This is the most depth they've had at that spot. Some of those young guys are impressive. To me, that's going to be really interesting to see how all that plays out. And if Tennessee does get away from that and rotates more, and it almost feels like they might have to because of the lack of some of that separation.
You know what it also feels like? Feels like we're at Augusta right now with some of these wind gusts that are coming into our shot. In case some of that is changing the audio, we apologize for that. A couple more quick notes I thought from the game. Tennessee closes down the first half with a couple of field goal attempts right here. I believe the first 2 missed, then the last one went in. So maybe that's something to watch going forward. Offensive line and running backs. I believe if I'm adding all of this up right, which it's a mess to add up on both sides of the box sheet, I believe it was a net of 68 yards on 30 carries. We'll see what that looks like going forward. Obviously, that's a banged-up running back room right now with Cameron Seldon out for the summer as he recovers from injury. But that was another chance for Tennessee to just continue rotating guys in, seeing what they have, and ultimately, that's going to be the name of the game in the spring game.
Yeah, certainly. I think just as important as the running backs, if not more so, is how banged up Tennessee's offensive line was. I mean, Their top 4 interior offensive linemen did not play. Obviously, we know the defensive line, at least I would pencil in the defensive line as the biggest strength of this team, at least at this point, is that we exit spring and head into the summer. So, a lot of running backs out, a lot of interior offensive line out against a good defensive line. I don't think it was necessarily entirely shocking that Tennessee struggled to get some stuff going in the run game. And we saw that too, especially when it was first-team defense versus first-team offense, where it felt like Tennessee kind of struggled to protect Nico Iamaleava some today.
Yeah. Again, 5 touchdowns on the day for this Tennessee offense. I believe you said it earlier, something about 9 stops.
Yeah,
defense,
right around in that ballpark.
Including an opening 3 and out to start this spring game. Any other kind of final takeaways from you here today?
I mean, just kind of building off of that, I guess. The first 4 drives, all in the first quarter, were no points. 2 of them were 3 and outs. First 4 drives, or all 4 drives in the second quarter were all touchdowns. So that was kind of an interesting dichotomy. And then, yeah, I did think some of the young defenders had some nice days. Jeremiah Thielander, Edwin Spillman, the early linebacker, did some nice things. I believe Caleb Herring had a sack. Soft second-year edge rusher, and then Boo Carter also had a tackle for a loss, and it felt like he was around the ball a good bit while he was in the game. So with a lot of guys sitting out, a lot of veterans sitting out, it felt like some of the young guys on the defense side of the ball did some stuff to like today.
Yeah, I had a couple of videos throughout the game just where I was locked in on Boo Carter, and maybe the ball didn't necessarily come his way, but it looked like he had the right footwork, he had the right communication. He was talking a lot out there, and I think that is something that the coaching staff is going to be excited for. Somewhere else I'm sure there'll be a lot of talking tonight is at the Tennessee baseball game. The Vols host LSU in game 2 of the series. That's in what, like an hour and a half or so?
Yeah, hour, 20 minutes.
Hour and 20 minutes. So we're going to wrap this thing up. We'll post it to YouTube if you're watching it right now. But then go ahead and check out RockyTopInsider.com for more Tennessee football notes from this 2024 Orange and White game. But also we will have live coverage from this Tennessee baseball series against LSU. Todd Helton. Godfather. He's throwing out the first pitch, right?
He is, yep.
We got to make sure we get over there for that. Hey, thank you so much for listening to their coverage of the Orange and White game. Spring football is concluded here in Knoxville, but our coverage will still continue to go throughout the summer. We'll see the different ups and downs that it has. But thank you so much for tuning in today. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler, coming to you from the 2024 Tennessee football Orange and White game. It's been the Tennessee football, this has been the Rocky Top Insider. We're not Tennessee.
No,
Rocky Top Insider post-game show.